everyone's favorite DIY project or something the homeowner loves to do? Nah, just kidding. No one likes to finish drywall. Well, I'm going to talk to you a little bit about what you need to do and how to go about finishing drywall to get a nice smooth finish for paint. We're going to go through the process here. I'm going to start with showing you a little bit of the tools that you need in order to get a good finish on your drywall. So this is a set of knives here and a mud pan. This is the mud pan. It holds your mud. And then this is a series of knives that you will use through the process to finish the drywall to get it to a sandable grade so that you can then go ahead and paint. This right here we call a taping knife. It is a 6-inch knife. It is used to apply your bed coat and your tape, which we're going to go over in a few here once we get this all explained to you. This is a 6-inch knife and it's a bed coat tape knife. Now every coat, you're going to switch knives. You're going to go from using a 6-inch knife to a 10-inch knife to a 12-inch knife, making sure that you blow out the seam wider and wider to get that finish. Now a little something about drywall knives that homeowners don't know, and a lot of people don't know about it. Even some professionals don't know about this too. If you look down the drywall knife, it actually has a curve. It's not completely straight. Every drywall knife has a curve like this. I mean, I'm exaggerating the curve, but there's a curve in there. The point of that curve is to fill the voids on the drywall. Like these seams here, they're tapered down, and it's to fill the void. So when the knife is against the wall, the mud fills the void. And if you have the knife going the wrong direction, you won't accomplish that, and you'll have a lot of trouble trying to finish your drywall. So that's a little tip to always eye down your knife and know what side you're using, and you always want to use that tapered side. So you'll always want to look down there. So in order to start finishing this drywall, we're going to need tape, which is going to be placed in a bed coat right on our seams. There's various types of tape out there. We like to use paper tape, which is the best way to do it compared to using some kind of mesh tape or fiber tape. So we're going to use paper tape. That's the best that's out there. The next thing that we're going to need to do this is we're going to need actual compound. Now there's all types of compounds out there, and it's pretty much what purpose you're using it for, whether it would be taping or finishing. There's mixed compounds, pre-mixed. This is ready mix, and this is a mixture that is good to sand. It falls right to the ground, so there's less airborne dust. We like to use this in people's homes because it puts less dust in the air. So we're going to use this type of mud for this application. So the best thing to do is mix your mud up. We've already done that with a mixer. It gets it nice and smooth. It's easier to work with. Some people, when you're taping, you might want to dilute it with a little bit of water. 1 solo cup should be good enough per bucket of mud. If you like it a little looser to work with, and it's easier for you, you can add a little more water. You're not going to hurt anything. Some people also like to take, when they're finishing their second and third coat on drywall, they like to take Dawn dish soap and put a couple of drops in there and spin the bucket and mix it up. And that makes it smoother and easier to finish. It's a little trick that we all use. So right now I'm going to show you how to tape this seam. This is what's called a standard flat seam. Most walls have standard flat seams. We have standard flat seams like this. Then we have corners where they come together. And then we have nail holes. So we call these the flats. So we're going to show you how to tape this flat seam first. So the first thing you want to do is you want to get your drywall compound into your mud tray using your 6-inch knife. And to do that, you'll always want to go around the outside of the bucket and scoop. And the reason for doing that is so that the compound does not dry on the sides of the bucket and become worthless and chunky. So you're going to get some mud into your tray, enough to work with. And always close your mud bucket up so the air doesn't get to it. So the whole trick about taping is, again, You want to look down your knife. You want to make sure you're using the right side of the knife. So, you're going to put the mud on the knife, just like so. It's all about coverage. You want to cover this seam with mud. Joint compound mud. Same thing, we call it mud. It's labeled joint compound, whatever you're comfortable with calling. So you just want to get as much mud on here as you can. You don't want to see any of the drywall. You want complete coverage right in the center of that seam. Because again, you're filling that gap in the void. Okay? So you come right across the seam, and you'll get quicker as it goes. And if it's looser, it's a little easier to apply. Some people can apply it with a paintbrush, as long as they get enough on. There's also tools out there called banjos that apply the tape and mud. They're a little trickier to use. But for this type of thing, we're just doing it by hand to show you how to do it. So now this is called your bed coat. So you're embedding this tape right in the compound. So you're gonna, you know where the center of that seam is, and you're gonna push this tape right on the center of that seam. Just like so. Just get it right in there. You're gonna get your fingers dirty, you're gonna get your hands dirty. You'll probably get mud all over everything, but just enjoy it. It's okay, it all cleans up with water actually, so it's very easy. So on a seam like this where we're here and we have an opening and an opening, the next step is to scrape this flat and flush and get all the loose mud out and embed the tape. Like I said, since we're on two sides of an opening, we're actually going to start in the middle and go one direction and go the other direction. So again, you're going to look at the side of your knife, you're going to make sure you're on the right side, the one with the taper. You're going to press real hard and you're going to squeeze all that mud out underneath the tape. Just like so. You can see it's all on your knife now. You're going to put it back in your pan, and then you're going to clean the edges. The little, just like so. Now this tape is embedded in there and ready to dry. Now you're going to come to the other side. Excuse me. You're going to do the same thing. You're just going to squeeze real hard, and that mud is going to squeeze out and embed that tape onto the drywall. And then again, you're going to clean your lips here and your ledges because you don't want that. And you want a nice smooth finish like that. Now you're going to let that dry, and as soon as that dries, which depending on temperature and humidity will take some time, you'll know when it's dry. It'll be completely white instead of gray. Usually it's the next day. We come back the next day and do the next coat. And then you're going to go and we're going to show you, we will show you next when that dries the process of putting the second coat on. So when you drywall, you're always going to have your screw holes or nail holes, whatever fastener there was. Those all have to get finished as well. It's a little easier. You don't have to tape your nail holes or anything. You just got to get some mud on your knife, and you want to use the same side that you use when you tape, and you just squeeze them on and rub it out. Squeeze it on and smooth it out again. And that'll take care of your nail holes. You're going to hit everything 3 times, three coats. Now I'm going to quickly show you how to do an inside corner. So we're going to come into this room over here, and I have an inside corner. Now an inside corner has to be taped as well. I'm just going to show you a small section here, and we're going to tape from here to here. And to do this, people use corner knives. They're very difficult to use. I personally don't prefer them, so I do it by hand with a 6-inch knife. Again, you can apply the mud this way, or sometimes, like I said, it's nice to paint it on with a big thick paintbrush and some loose mud, but the trick is you need to have enough mud behind your tape. Otherwise, it'll bubble and it won't be bedded in, and you'll create a bubble and you'll have to fix that. So the trick is to get a lot of mud back there, just enough. So the corners, what we're going to do is we're going to start putting some mud on, just like so, and we want to fill everything just like that. You don't want any gray showing. No gray drywall. You want to see compounds. That way you know you have enough behind your tape, and you're not going to create that bubble I was just talking about. So you're going to mud this down, and it takes a few minutes. You know, it's a time-consuming job. But as you do more and more of it, you're going to get better and better. And hard to believe it, you might actually enjoy it. because as you get better, it just is, you know, it's rewarding to see how smooth you can get it. And, you know, if you're doing it for the first time, you might find out that you love it, you know, but it's definitely an acquired thing and it takes some time. So be patient, don't give up on it, and as long as you do everything that I'm telling you to do, you can't really mess it up because you can fix it all by sanding. As long as you don't have bubbles in the tape, and you're using a pre-mixed compound that isn't a hard setting compound, you can pretty much fix anything by sanding it out. So don't be afraid to tackle finishing drywall. Okay, so we have our corner all taped off. So now we're going to take our tape and we're going to just kind of measure down the wall what our length of this is. Okay, so we have a rough length here. And I'm going to show you what we do to cut this tape. We just put our knife where it is and pull. You get a nice clean break on your paper tape. Even though it's called tape, it doesn't have any adhesive. It's paper. So it has a line on the center, so you know the center. And we're going to fold it right on that center. Just crease it. And now we've made a corner with the paper tape. We're going to embed this in the mud that we just laid. And again, you're probably going to get your fingers dirty, your knuckles dirty, but it's part of the job. So you're just going to get that in the corner, run your hand down it, embed it in the mud, and you're still going to do this pretty much the same process as a flat. You're going to look down your knife, make sure you're using the right side of the knife, and again, you're going to stick it right in the corner, and you're going to make a 90-degree corner, and you're going to just push that tape in to embed it into that mud. Again, this process of taping is called the bed coat. So this is the bed coat, and you're embedding the tape onto the drywall. And you're just going to continue down that side and make sure that it's completely pressed into the mud. And then you're going to come to the other side, and you're going to do the same thing, and you want that to be tight as you can to the drywall. You'll know if the other side starts to pop up like that, you got to run your knife back down. You're just going to go right through the drywall, right down the corner. You want to make sure that's firmly pressed all the way down, making that 90-degree corner. As you saw right there, I went back to the other side because the tape popped up a little bit from getting this other side set. So there you have the corner tape now in the bed coat ready to dry. You can take your knife again and run it down the sides by putting a little pressure there. Just to clean up the edge, it's going to make your life a lot easier down the road. If we keep it clean, it's easier to do the next coat. As you can see, as I was doing that, that popped up. So that could be a sign right here where I didn't have enough mud underneath the tape. So what I'm going to do for purposes right now, I'm going to peel that back a little bit, just like that. And I'm going to stick a little mud underneath there with my knife, just to be safe, so that we don't create a bubble. Now that I got more mud down there, I'm just going to embed it in the mud again. And you always want to do that. It's easier to do it now than have to cut it out later. So what we're going to do is we're going to let this stuff dry, and we're going to show you next how to put a second coat on a corner, a flat, and a nail hole. And we're going to continue this process until this drywall is sanded and ready for paint. So we're back here today to show you the second step to finishing drywall, which is called your second coat. As you can see, this has dried nice and solid overnight. It's been about 24 hours. As you can see, the color turned to a white, so you can totally distinguish that it is dried from yesterday. So we're going to go about putting the second coat on this flat, on these nail holes, and we're going to go back in there and show you how to start the inside corner. So again, we're going to use our 6-inch knife for the corner and the nail holes, and we're going to use our 10-inch knife to do the second coat on the flat, so we can blow it out. So the first thing we're going to do again is we're going to get our pan, our mud tray, and we're going to fill it with mud. And again, just like yesterday, we're going to want to go around the bucket, around the sides, get it all out of there so that the bucket is clean so the mud does not dry on you and become full of chunks. The cleaner the mud stays, the better it is to work with. You don't want goop and chunks in your mud. So as we got some mud on our mud tray here, we're going to close our bucket up. We don't need our 6-inch knife to start, so we're going to make sure it's clean and we're going to set it on the bucket. So again, we want to make sure we're using the right side of the knife. So we're going to look down it for the curve to know where it is. A lot of guys mark their trowels so they always know. I happen to know where it is, but I'm going to take a look here for you and see that we want to go this direction against the wall. So we want to get some mud on our knife, and we're going to firmly press, and we're just going to apply the mud over the tape. You want to make sure you have enough mud on it. You probably get it on the floor. You'll probably get it on yourself. Again, like I said when we were taping, no big deal. It all cleans up with water. So once you apply the mud over the tape, it's on there quite thick. So what you want to do is you want to clean the edges and smooth out the mud. A great way to do this is to control your knife with your fingers and put more pressure on the top and less on the bottom, and you can clean that edge just like this. That'll keep it nice and flat and smooth. It'll make it for easier sanding later and easier finishing. You do that on the top, and you can do that on the bottom too. As you get better, you won't have to do that because you can just put it on smooth the first time. You may have to do it here and there, but that's a great little tip for you. Then you just want to run this knife until this mud gets smooth, just like so. And you want to let it dry. But you want it to be as smooth as you can possibly get it. You might have to run it a couple directions. You don't want to take too much off. You want to leave the mud on there so it does its job. Otherwise, you'll be coating forever. So even if you get a little lip like that, you can again go back and put some pressure on here and just kind of clean it up. And the goal when it's done is to just be nice and smooth like that. See? Nice and smooth, tape's covered, you're good there. Nail holes, again, it's the same process as the first time. You're just hitting them 3 times basically. You're putting your mud on your knife, getting it on there, and you're just wiping it clean. You know, just wiping it clean. Keep it clean. And you can go through those pretty quickly on the whole job. You know, just put it on there and wipe it clean. Now let me show you how to do the inside corner. Now like I mentioned yesterday, a lot of people use a corner trowel. I personally don't like them, and they're very hard to use, and I don't think you get as good as a job using a corner trowel. So again, I use my 6-inch knife, make sure my curves go in the same way, and we're going to do one side of the corner at a time. You can only do one side, otherwise you'll pull out the mud on the other side if you try to do both sides. It can be done, but it's very difficult. I wouldn't recommend it. So normally you would do one side of the corner like this. Then if you had a ceiling seam, you would do the ceiling seam the same way, and you would just alternate what side of the corner and what side on the ceiling seam so you don't run into each other. So this is pretty much the same way as when we taped it. You're going to get the mud on your knife, and you're just going to stick the knife in the corner, and you're going to press firmly and run it down. And see how that's covering everything? And you want it to cover the whole tape and make a nice sharp corner, because the goal when you're done is to have everything covered on both sides and have a complete 90-degree corner. So you get it on there, and then you're going to run it down, clean it all up. You're not going to leave any gunk on the side. If you do, you can clean it up by going like this carefully. So it might take you a couple of passes to get it nice and tight into the corner like so. And again, you're going to clean the edge with a little pressure on the one side of your knife. But you still want to leave plenty of mud on there. Like that is looking really big for a corner right now. And then you're going to continue all the way down And sometimes you can put the knife in this way if you're having a little trouble to fill an area. But the goal is to get it to look like that when it's done. You always want to kind of just clean it as you go. And you don't want to take mud off and you're running down like this. You're just trying to mend that all together. Now, you can start at the bottom here and work your way up. Or you can continue going straight down, really whatever you prefer. But it's nice to start at the bottom sometimes and work your way up, because a lot of times you'll have a cross seam across here. We don't in this case. And that way you can let the two meet in that seam, because you're going to coat it again and sand it. So you leave it there. You can leave that there and it'll get taken care of by either coating that cross seam or by sanding it in the end. So when you're done, you want the corner to just as tight as you can be. Just like that. And now that side is all set. It may need another coat. When you do this side, you will make the 90. You want this to be completely dry before you ever even attempt as a beginner to coat the other side of the corner. Because if this corner is just the least bit wet still, all this mud that you have in the corner, this knife will pull out of there and you'll have a mess on your hands that you will not like. So just before you coat the second side, always make sure this corner is completely dry. When we go to do the next coat, we will show you that this corner is completely dry and show you the process so we don't rip it out as well. So that's how you second coat drywall mud. We'll be back to show you the third coat, and then we'll show you the wonderful process of sanding. But by doing a good job on the second and third coat, the less sanding you will have to do. So we'll see you for the third coat. We're back here finishing our drywall. We're on day 3. So we're going to be putting the third coat on, our flats, our nail holes, and our corner seam. We're going to show you how to do that. Now, I like to use this compound for my third coat, and you're going to thank me later when we go to sand. It's called dust control. We'll explain that later. So, it's a smaller bucket. It's got a blue top. You're going to want to pick yourself up a bucket of this for the third coat, because trust me, you're going to thank me later. So, what we're going to do here is we're going to scoop some mud into our pan, just like we've showed you before. And we're going to get all set up here to do our coating, our third coat. So again, we want to look down the side of our knife, make sure the curves go in the right direction. Get some compound on our knife, and again, right in the center of the seam, we want to just make it flow. Good pressure, get it on there, good coverage, just like so. And again, we're going to take it, apply pressure to the top of the knife to feather out the top. Apply pressure to the bottom of the knife to feather out the bottom. Now we're going to smooth the middle flat, and we're going to try to get that as tight as we can. And when that dries, it'll be nice and smooth and ready to sand. So now we're going to go back to our 6-inch knife. We just used a 12 on that third coat. Go back to our 6-inch knife. We're going to want to make sure it's going the right way. And we're going to hit our nail holes one more time. We're just going to make it nice and tight by pressing firmly to get a nice smooth finish on that, to make sanding a lot easier. Some people will go around after their third coat and they'll touch things up, and they call that putting a skim coat on things. And they want to make it as smooth as possible, so they're not putting very much compound on. They're just making it nice and smooth. Let's walk into here and see what we got going on in the corner. So our corner here now has completely dried, which is very important, because if it's not dry, when you run the knife down it, you're going to pull out this side of the corner. You want to avoid that. So basically, we're going to do the same thing we did on this side to create the 90-degree corner. So we're going to check the side of our knife, and we're going to get some mud applied there, and we're going to run it down. We're just going to get it on there. And the goal is, again, to make this smooth when it's done and have a nice sharp 90-degree corner. And again, you're covering the tape and you're getting on there nice coat. You get some on the other side, you just kind of clean it up like that, get it out of the way. And again, you're just going to make a smooth corner. Once you have one side, doing the second side is a little trickier. But you're riding the knife right in the corner, and getting that smoothed right out. Again, clean your edges. Run your knife down again to get it nice and smooth. The smoother the better. You're going to pick all that stuff up, all the goop and clumps that you may make. You'll get on the sand or, again, a skim coat. Our corner wasn't too dry right there. That's usually what happens when the corner's not dry enough on the other side. You tend to pick it up like that, which isn't a big deal. We can skim it out later, and then we'll get the rest when it sands. So again, just apply your mud. Get the knife right in the corner. Just one nice stroke up there. Clean your edges. And get yourself a nice smooth stroking. See, we didn't get any coverage there, so we want to get a little on there. And we'll just go again. And now you got yourself a nice smooth corner ready to dry, ready to sand. That's the third coat. We'll be back when all this stuff dries and we'll show you how to properly sand this drywall. Welcome to everybody's favorite day of the drywall process, the wonderful day of sanding. I'm pretty sure nobody likes to do that. So, let's get into sanding. I'm going to tell you a couple of tools here that we need to and are going to use to sand. So there's all sorts of different sandpaper to use while you're sanding drywall. There's traditional sandpaper. We like to use 150 grit. There's drywall screens that you can use that are a little more aggressive. There's power sanders. We like to do everything by hand and feel. So we're going to use regular sandpaper, which is just going to be a full sheet, and we're going to fold it into fours. Very important. We're going to show you that later. We're going to use a sanding block, and this is, you can find this in the drywall section with all the drywall tools. It's made to sand drywall. And then what's called a pole sander, basically for sanding ceilings. And they're very, you gotta get used to using them. They're very difficult, but that's just basically the process with those. So a lot of times what you can do is you can go through your work and you can hit it real quick with the pole sander. It keeps you away from the wall and you can get a lot of the big stuff off, and you just want to work it a couple of directions. Now as you get better, you can do most of it with the pole sander, but for a homeowner or a beginner, it's a very tough way to sand, because what can happen is this can all flip up on you and you'll end up denting your drywall and you won't be happy because you'll be recoating. So I'm going to show you how to sand this flat seam and these nail holes by hand, and then we're going to go do the corner. If you remember, I told you that I was going to tell you about something that was a little trick with that dust-free mud that you were going to thank me for, and this is it. When you coat this with your dust-free mud, no airborne dust happens. The drywall mud falls right to the ground. Just like that. See, it's not in the air all over, it fell right to the ground. Makes it easy to clean up, and it's better, just in general, it doesn't get through the whole house and into the heating system. You should always wear a mask when you're sanding this. Because I'm talking through this, I have mine sitting on the counter over there, and I'm only going to do a little bit because you always want to wear a mask when you do this, and you should have safety glasses on. So you're just going to sand this, and the goal when you sand this is for it to be smooth and flat, and you don't want any lips or edges, and you can run your hand down and you can feel everything. So Just run that through. Take the edges off first, and then take the edges off the bottom, and then just smooth out the middle. And you'll know by the look of it and the feel of it when it's ready. Now you want to be very careful not to over sand where you sand too much off. When you're done, you should be able to run your hand down it and visually look at it and see that that is completely smooth. There's nothing in it that is going to show through your drywall. Right here we have a little bit of a bump, so we're going to take some hand paper and just get that out and feather it right in. And now that is sanded out. That is your flat seam sanded out. So now let's go to the nail hole up here. Very simple, similar process. You can do it with the pole sander, hand sander, and you're just going to press firmly. Edges, smooth them out. And there you go. You got yourself a complete nail hole. And that works good. Same way, like if you're doing a patch or something, you're going to sand it the same way. So let's walk into the corner over here. This is where they get a little more tricky. And this is where you're going to use your piece of sandpaper you've held it in fours. The goal of sanding this is to clean the edges first, and then get the sandpaper in the corner, and you want to form a 90. So you're going to clean the edges, get those nice and smooth, get as close to the corner, stick it right in there, and get that all smoothed out. And then you're going to go to the other side and you're going to do the same thing. Edges, and then work it in the corner. And you're going to get that all sanded out like that. Then you're going to take your hand paper and you're going to finish it up by hand. And you're going to create a sharp 90-degree corner, making sure you get anything else sanded out that needs to be sanded out. So when you're done, we'll bring the camera in here and we'll show you from here up that this is all smooth here, and you got a complete 90-degree corner ready to be painted. Then what you're going to go through is you're going to go through and you're going to clean up all your dust, wipe your walls down, and then you'll be able to prime and paint with your choice of primer and paint. On new drywall, a new drywall primer is recommended, and then you would paint your walls after that. So I hope we were able to show you a little bit about drywall in this segment, and you will tackle the project on your own. If you have any questions, get in contact with us. We can either help you with your drywall projects, or we can walk you through it. So feel free to give us a call.